Okay, so today we are diving into something super important. Children's mental health.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I feel like sometimes the information out there
Yeah.
is either
Right.
totally overwhelming or it's like written in a whole other language.
It can feel that way for sure.
Yeah.
And it's not just about understanding the terms.
Yeah.
But it's knowing what to do with that information.
Yes.
How to support kids in a way that actually makes a difference in their lives.
Exactly. And that's what we're going to do today, right?
Yep.
We're going to take all this research, all these articles, these personal anecdotes, and try to extract some seriously useful insights.
They'll do it.
So one of the things that I kept seeing over and over again in the source material is just how crucial those early childhood years are.
Absolutely.
Especially like around ages 2 to 8.
Yeah.
What is it about that time frame?
Yeah, that's such a good question.
Yeah.
Because a child's brain is so adaptable at that age. So if you think about it, their early experiences are literally shaping how their brain is being wired, impacting how they deal with challenges.
Right.
How they form relationships, how they process emotions.
Years
and years later.
The foundation of a house.
Exactly.
Like if you don't have a good foundation, things are rocky.
Absolutely. And just like you were saying, a shaky foundation can lead to cracks.
Yes.
Can lead to instability. And it's the same way with these early experiences.
Yeah.
Because they can have this ripple effect throughout a person's life.
So it's not just about making sure kids have a happy childhood.
Right.
It's like you're setting them up for success as adults.
Exactly. And we see that reflected in the research too, because one study in the Lancet Psychiatry found that if you don't address mental health challenges early in life, it can actually increase the likelihood of them facing things like unemployment.
Oh, wow.
Like struggling with their physical health later.
Really?
Having difficulty in relationships. So it's not just about the here and now. It's about setting them up for a brighter future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that leads perfectly into our next point, which is talking about what some of these challenges actually look like.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the challenges that kids are facing today. Because the source material mentioned a whole bunch. And I'm kind of curious, like, where do we even begin?
Yeah. Well, I think anxiety is a big one.
Okay.
And, anxiety, it's not just one thing.
Right.
It kind of comes in a bunch of different flavors.
Okay.
Like you mentioned separation anxiety earlier.
Right.
That intense fear of being away from a caregiver.
Right.
Super common in those younger years.
Yeah, like the kid clinging to their parent's leg on the first day of school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you have generalized anxiety, where a child might worry excessively about a whole bunch of different things.
Right.
School friends, the future, you name it.
Right.
And then you've got social anxiety.
Okay, yeah.
Which can make it really tough for kids to make friends or feel comfortable in groups.
So it's like anxiety is an umbrella term.
Yeah.
And there's all these different ways it can manifest.
Exactly. And I think that highlights why recognizing the signs is so crucial.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it's not always as straightforward as just seeming anxious.
Okay, so we've got anxiety.
Yeah.
Another one that came up in the research was ADHD. And I know that ADHD can often be misdiagnosed or confused with other things.
Yeah, and it's not just about kids being hyper.
Right.
Right, which is kind of a common misconception.
Right.
It's about challenges with attention.
Okay.
Focus impulsivity, hyperactivity. And I think the important thing to remember here is that for it to be ADHD, these challenges, they need to be present in multiple settings.
So it can't just be that they're fidgety at dinner.
Exactly.
Or they can't sit still during a movie.
Right. It needs to be at home. It needs to be at school.
Yeah, got it.
And it's got to be interfering with their ability to function.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so ADHD. We talked about anxiety. Yeah. Another one, and this one I have to admit, when I saw it in the research, I was like, really? Depression in kids?
Yeah, it's tough, right?
It's like, have you even lived long enough to be depressed?
And it can be hard to wrap your head around, but childhood depression is a very real thing.
Right.
And it often looks different than adult depression.
Okay.
So you're not necessarily going to see like this pervasive sadness all the time.
Right.
You might see more irritability.
Oh, okay.
More anger outbursts. More mood swings that seem to come out of nowhere.
So it's more about like changes in their behavior than like a clear cut, like, oh, you're sad.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important for parents and educators to be really in tune to those subtle shifts in behavior.
So like those early warning signs?
Absolutely.
Are huge.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got depression, we've got anxiety, we've got ADHD.
Yeah.
What about autism?
Yeah, autism's another big one.
The source material mentioned that diagnoses are on the rise.
They are. The latest data show that about 1 in 36 children are diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder.
Wow. 1 in 36, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a significant number. And there are a lot of different theories as to why diagnoses are increasing.
Right, because it's not necessarily that more kids have it.
Right, it's probably a combination of things.
Right.
You know, increased awareness, for sure.
Okay.
Broader diagnostic criteria.
Yeah.
Even things like better access to diagnostic services.
So we're just getting better at recognizing it.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the great thing is that with autism,
yeah,
early intervention is key.
Okay, what does early intervention look like?
Well, it could be a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Depending on the child's individual needs.
Okay.
Right? But you've got things like applied behavioral analysis or ABA therapy, which uses positive reinforcement to teach new skills, you know, reduce those challenging behaviors. And then speech therapy can be really helpful,
Right.
you know, for improving communication skills.
Of course.
Occupational therapy can help with things like sensory processing issues.
All right.
Or even motor skills.
So it's really about creating this like custom support system.
A tailored approach for each child's unique needs.
Wow. So we've talked about a lot of specific challenges.
We have.
But the research also went into what causes these things.
Right.
Which I imagine is a pretty complex question.
It is. There's no easy answer.
It is complex. Like, where do you even begin to untangle all of that?
Right. It really is a multifaceted issue.
Yeah.
But one thing that comes up time and time again in the research is the impact of the family environment.
Okay. That makes sense because kids are like sponges, right?
Exactly. They soak up everything around them.
Yeah.
So, you know, if a child is growing up in a loving, supportive home, that can really serve as a buffer against stress and adversity. But on the flip side, if a child is growing up in a home where there's a lot of conflict,
right,
neglect, maybe even abuse, that can significantly increase their risk of developing mental health challenges.
So it's almost like that family environment can either set the stage for resilience or unfortunately make kids more vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just about what's happening at home either.
Right, because what about things like bullying?
Bullying is huge.
That was another big one that came up in the research.
Yeah, it can have a devastating impact on a child's self-esteem, their sense of safety, you know, even their ability to connect with others.
It's like those wounds can run really deep.
They do. They can leave lasting scars.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we can't forget about the elephant in the room these days.
Oh, yeah, here,
The ever-present world of screen time and social media.
All right, so screen time, social media, that was a big one in the research. And I have to say, some of those findings were a little alarming.
Yeah, it's easy to go down that rabbit hole.
It is, like you said, too much social media. It's linked to anxiety. It's linked to depression, sleep problems, body image issues. Like, it's
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And it's not even just about the content that they're seeing. It's just like that amount of time.
Yeah, that excessive screen time disrupts sleep.
Right.
Which we know is crucial for a developing brain.
Yeah.
And then it can also lead to social isolation.
Right.
Which makes it even harder for kids to build those real-life social skills.
It's all about balance, right?
Exactly.
Like, technology isn't inherently bad.
It's not.
But it's about using it in a way that's healthy and mindful.
Yeah, and making sure it's not crowding out those really important human connections and experiences.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the why behind these mental health challenges.
Yeah.
But I love this part because the research also offered a lot of hope.
Yeah, there's always hope.
There is. So what are some of the things that actually help kids thrive mentally and emotionally? Like, what can we do to build that strong foundation?
Yeah, so the good news is there's actually a lot we can do.
Okay, good.
And it starts with us.
Okay.
The adults in a child's life.
So parents, caregivers?
Yeah.
What are some things they can do at home?
You know, sometimes I think the most powerful things are the simplest.
Okay.
Like putting down your phone.
Yeah.
Making eye contact with your child.
Right.
Really listening to what they have to say.
Yeah.
And, you know, just as importantly, what they're not saying.
Right.
Those little things can make a huge difference.
It's that presence.
Yes.
It's making them feel seen and heard.
Absolutely. And validation is huge.
Okay.
You know, even if you don't fully understand what they're going through, just acknowledging their feelings
yeah.
can be so powerful.
Like, oh, that sounds really frustrating.
Exactly.
Or it's okay to feel sad.
Yeah, you're validating their experience.
You're letting them know that their feelings are valid.
Yeah.
And it's like that saying, right? Kids spell love Time.
It's so true.
It's so true, but it's not just on the parents.
Right.
Right? What about outside the home?
Yeah.
Schools, community.
Yeah, schools is so important.
Like that wider village we always talk about.
I would love to see a world where every school has really comprehensive, robust mental health programs.
Like what kinds of things?
So think, mental health literacy classes.
Okay.
Where kids are learning about mental health.
Yeah.
They're learning how to talk about it.
Right, from a young age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Access to counselors.
Of course.
Creating a school culture where mental well-being is valued.
It's about changing the conversation from just fixing problems to actually promoting mental health from day one.
Yes. Prevention is just as important as intervention.
I love that.
And the research supports this. We see schools that have these kinds of programs, they see a decrease in bullying, lower rates of anxiety and depression among students.
Okay.
Even improved academic performance.
That's incredible.
It's a win-win.
It is a win-win.
For everyone.
So it really does take a village to support a child's mental health.
Absolutely. Parents, educators, communities.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about access to qualified professionals.
Yeah. Therapists, counselors, pediatricians. These experts are essential.
They are the ones on the front line.
Yes, they're the ones who are trained to diagnose, to treat these mental health challenges.
It's knowing when and where to seek help.
Exactly.
This has been so insightful.
It has.
I feel like we've taken this really complex topic and we've extracted some seriously useful information.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners out there, here's something I want you to consider.
Okay.
What if we as a society shifted our focus from just fixing mental health problems to actually creating a world where we're promoting mental well-being?
I love that.
Right from the start.
From day one.
What if we started viewing mental health as being just as important as physical health?
I think that's a beautiful vision.
And nurturing it in our kids.
Absolutely.
Right alongside those ABCs and 123s.
I love that analogy.
It's a powerful thought.
It is.
Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Into children's mental health.
I got